The airport was stifling despite the air conditioning. The scent of exhaustion, baby powder, stale coffee, and desperation clung to the air like damp cloves on a line. Cece adjusted the baby carrier on her chest, rocking gently as her 7-month-old daughter whimpered. Her arms ached, her back screamed, and her vision blurred from the 3 hours of restless sleep she'd caught on a bench outside the scholarship agency the night before. But even now, she dared not rest. She couldn't believe it had come to this. Running away. Not out of cowardice, but survival. Her fingers grazed the soft curls of her daughter's head as tears clung to her lower lashes. "We're going to be okay, my darling," she whispered, though her voice cracked from the effort. There was no going back. Not to y'all's slaps. Not to the empty cupboards, the late-night arguments, the unpaid rent, or his mother's icy visits, blaming Cece for everything from the baby's cries to y'all's failed business. She had tried. Oh, she had tried. But after he sold her phone to pay for beer, after he locked her out with the baby in the rain, she finally knew. Love wasn't enough. The free scholarship flight to South Korea was a miracle in itself. A last-minute opening. One slot. One ticket. One baby allowed. Destiny had cracked open a window, and she had crawled through it. Cece approached the boarding gate with trembling hands, clutching her passport, the scholarship envelope, and the boarding pass that seemed too fragile to hold the weight of her dreams. The lady at the gate smiled tightly, scanning the documents, then waved her through. With a stifled sob of relief, Cece stepped onto the metal bridge that led to the aircraft. She didn't look back. The flight was full, noisy with conversations in languages she couldn't understand. The airplane hummed with a strange mechanical calm, the sort of silence that made her baby fuss more. She patted her daughter, cooing softly in Chui. Her baby's fever hadn't gone down completely. The baby's cheeks were flushed, her forehead hot. Cece felt weak herself, her head swimming. As she reached her assigned seat, row 19 window, she nearly dropped her child. Her knees buckled. A man nearby noticed and immediately stood. "Excuse me, are you all right?" the stranger asked in calm, fluent English. Cece blinked, disoriented. Her first thought was how deep and melodic his voice was. Then she saw his face. A Korean man, probably in his late 20s or early 30s, dressed in black slacks and a button-down shirt with a navy coat slung over one arm. Clean-shaven, elegant, and if she had any strength left to care, shockingly handsome. Not the typical airport business traveler. There was an aura around him, a kind of quiet dominance. I'm okay," Cece murmured, holding her daughter close. "You don't look okay." He motioned toward her seat and offered to help. "Let me hold the baby while you sit. She's burning up." Cece hesitated, startled. She didn't know this man, but the weariness pressing on her was too much. And something about his tone, not condescending, not pitying, just kind, made her nod. He cradled the baby gently, murmuring something in Korean as if he expected the child to understand. Her daughter stilled in his arms like a quiet miracle. Cece collapsed into her seat, and the world started to blur. She didn't remember falling asleep. The fever had been creeping in since dawn. But at 400 feet above the ground, somewhere over the clouds and the sea, her body finally gave in. The last thing she recalled was her daughter's soft cry and the stranger's shoulder, warm, steady, as her head slipped sideways and rested on it without permission. Then nothing. Cece awoke to golden light streaming in through tall windows. She blinked. Once. Twice. This wasn't a plane. This wasn't an airport. This wasn't real. Her head throbbed. Her lips were dry. She pushed herself up from the softest bed she'd ever touched and found herself surrounded by soft cream curtains, a glistening chandelier overhead, and floors so polished she could see her own confused reflection in them. Her baby. She gasped and turned, but there, in a transparent cot nearby, her daughter slept peacefully. Someone had changed the baby into fresh clothes. There was a blanket over her tiny form and a small bowl of water beside her cot. "What, where?" "Good. You're awake." The deep voice returned. Cece's eyes shot to the doorway. It was him. the man from the plane. He was no longer in a blazer. Now in a white t-shirt and tailored lounge pants, barefoot, hair slightly damp as though from a recent shower, he looked less like a businessman and more like a prince on vacation. Cece instinctively pulled the sheets up to her neck. Where am I? My baby, what happened? You fainted on the plane. Fever. Severe dehydration. I couldn't leave you at the airport like that. His tone was calm but held something else. Concern, curiosity, something unreadable. You brought me here? To my place. The hospital was overcrowded. I have medical equipment here. My private doctor attended to both of you. Your place? Her eyes widened. You're rich? He raised a brow, almost amused. You ask that like it's a crime. I mean, why would someone like you help someone like me? Cece whispered, her voice cracking. He didn't answer immediately. He walked over, looked down at the baby, and then sat on the edge of the armchair near the bed. Because when I saw you holding your child, fighting sleep, your face covered in sweat, I saw someone who reminded me of my mother when I was a boy. That was unexpected. Cece's lip trembled. I'm Kang Ji-soo, he said at last, CEO of Zen Tech Group. And you are? She swallowed. Cece. Cece Amponsa. From Ghana. He nodded slowly. Well, Cece, welcome to Korea. Cece didn't believe in miracles. Not anymore. Not after marriage had shown her the ugly underbelly of hope. Not after love had turned into bruises and hunger. Not after her once bright dreams had been stuffed into a second-hand suitcase and a scholarship flight to a country she couldn't pronounce properly until last month. But this penthouse was a miracle she didn't trust. She sat up in bed, back pressed against cool satin pillows, her baby still peacefully sleeping. The walls of the room were tall and white, with crown molding that looked like it belonged in a movie. The floor-to-ceiling glass windows gave her a view of Seoul she had only seen in online articles, sleek buildings rising like futuristic towers, neon reflections still soft in the morning haze.
It was almost terrifying.
So clean. So quiet. So not Ghana. The soft knock at the door startled her. It creaked open without waiting for a reply. Can I come in? Ji-soo's voice again. That same voice that had soothed her child 40,000 feet in the air, that had whispered something to her unconscious mind, something protective, almost dangerous. Why, yes, she said, sitting up straighter. He stepped in with a tray. Warm steam rose from a small bowl.
Samjiting, he said.
Korean chicken soup. Doctor said you need fluids. She blinked. You cooked. He chuckled, setting it on the side table.
No.
I can't even cook instant noodles. My housekeeper did. That laugh, it disarmed her, just for a second. Ji-soo looked nothing like her husband. He wasn't loud, aggressive, boastful, or careless. His eyes never wandered, not even once, to her breasts or thighs. He looked at her face when he spoke. And he listened. Cece took the bowl. Her hands trembled. The scent made her stomach growl in betrayal. Thank you, she whispered. You can stay here until your school resumes, he said simply, settling into the same armchair from the day before. I made some calls. The scholarship team confirmed your name. They were worried you missed the airport welcome team, but I covered for you. Her spoon paused halfway to her lips. You lied for me? I told them you had a medical emergency. They understood. I just didn't tell them you were with me. Silence stretched between them. The baby stirred. Cece bit her lip. Why are you doing this? She asked. You don't know me. I'm a single mother. From Africa. I have nothing. No money. No connections. Not even a husband anymore. Ji-soo tilted his head slightly. You have a name. A child. A future. That's more than some people who live in palaces. His words hit her like a soft slap. Her lips quivered. You speak like someone who knows emptiness. I do. And he didn't elaborate. But the way his gaze dropped to the floor told her he was hiding something. They didn't talk for a few seconds. Just the sound of her spoon gently scraping the bowl filled the space. Until he stood. I'll give you a tour when you feel stronger. Bathrooms to the left. Closets stocked with fresh clothes. My housekeeper, Ms. Moon, bought them this morning. Cece blinked. She bought clothes?
For me.
I told her to guess your size, he said. But she's nosy, so she probably measured you in your sleep. She flushed, dropping her gaze. Oh. He gave a rare smile. I'm off to the office. There's a landline if you need me. I wrote down the number. With that, he turned and walked out. The door clicked shut softly behind him. Cece stared at it long after he left. 3 days later. The penthouse still didn't feel real. Ms. Moon came each morning, polite but firm, cleaning and checking on the baby. She spoke little English, but her warmth came through her gestures, folded towels, cut fruits, gentle smiles. Cece explored slowly. The apartment had 4 rooms, each one more beautiful than the last. There were marble floors, elegant bookshelves, glass ornaments, and a quiet elegance that didn't scream wealth. It whispered it. She hadn't seen Jisoo since the day she woke up. He sent notes through Ms. Moon, left food. But he never came into the room again. She began to wonder if he was avoiding her, or maybe regretting saving her. That night, she finally picked up the phone and dialed the number on the sticky note. It rang once.
Twice.
Then his voice. Yes? I wanted to say thank you again, and that I'm feeling much better. I think I can leave now.
No. The word was swift.
Firm. She blinked. I beg your pardon? You're not leaving until the baby is fully recovered. And you're not ready either. If you collapse again, this time there won't be anyone to catch you midair. Her breath hitched. She could almost hear the faint smile in his voice. Besides, he added, the baby seems to like it here. She looked down at her daughter, who was giggling at a plush bunny toy. I don't want to be a burden. You're not.
Good night, Cece.
The line cut. Her chest tightened. A week later, Jisoo finally returned home early. Cece was in the living room, the baby napping in a cot beside her. She wore one of the soft blouses Ms. Moon had picked, cream silk, buttoned to her collarbone. She hadn't expected him to walk in at 6 p.m., shirt sleeves rolled up, necktie loose, eyes looking like he'd fought 5 wars in a boardroom. You're awake, he said quietly.
She stood awkwardly.
I was just…
Sit.
It's your house too. For now. She sat. He poured himself a glass of water and leaned against the marble counter. Your baby's laugh echoes through the place. It's strange but nice. Cece looked up. You live alone? He nodded. Always have. Not even a girlfriend? His brow rose slightly. Would a girlfriend let a stranger sleep on my shoulder mid-flight with a drooling baby? Cece flushed. I didn't mean to. I didn't mind. Their eyes locked. The air shifted. Jisoo pushed away from the counter slowly and walked over. He stood beside the baby's cot, staring down, before his gaze moved to Cece. Do you want to go outside tomorrow? He asked. I mean, to the Han River. Or the bookstore. Or just somewhere normal. She blinked. Why? Because I've never seen someone look so trapped in a palace before. Her throat tightened. He noticed. And then he did something no man had done for her in months. He reached out, gently, and tucked a stray braid behind her ear. The contact made her heart stutter. Her eyes searched his face for meaning, but he was already stepping back. Get some rest, he murmured. The next morning, the penthouse buzzed with subtle change. Sunlight spilled through the large windows like honey, warming the marble floors. The soft smell of soap, perfume, and baby powder hung in the air as Cece gently strapped her baby into a snug stroller. She hadn't worn makeup in months, but today, just today, she lined her eyes softly with a small kit Ms. Moon had bought her. Her lips wore a faint rose tint. She didn't look like a wife who had once cried herself to sleep on an empty floor. She looked fresh.
New.
Hopeful. And nervous. Because today, she was going out with him. Jisoo emerged from his bedroom looking maddeningly perfect in black slacks and a clean cream sweater. A faint woodsy scent followed him. It wasn't cologne. It was just him. He paused when he saw her. His eyes did a slow, almost imperceptible sweep, from her hair tied neatly in a side bun, to the baby pink blouse, to her long skirt flowing like something out of a period film. "You look different," he said. She smiled shyly. "Is it a bad different?" "No," he grabbed his coat. "You look like someone who remembered she's allowed to shine." The Han River was alive with whispers. Couples rode tandem bikes. Children flew kites, laughter spilling like wind chimes. Cherry trees danced in the breeze, their pink petals floating around like secrets too heavy to stay rooted. Jisoo walked beside Cece at a respectable distance, pushing the stroller while she tried not to look too obviously stunned by Seoul's beauty. "I still can't believe this is real," she whispered. "What do you mean?" "I mean all this. My life felt over a few weeks ago, and now I'm here, with my baby, beside a stranger, in a country I don't understand. It feels like I'm inside someone else's dream." Jisoo looked at her carefully. "You're not inside a dream. You're at the beginning of your story." She turned to him. "And what about you?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he paused by a food cart and bought her a warm, sweet bun. "My story's complicated," he said, handing it to her. "But I'll tell you if you promise not to run away." She raised an eyebrow, half amused. "I don't run. Not anymore." "Good," he said, his voice quiet. "Then I'll tell you. I'm not just the CEO of Zentech. I'm also the last son of Korea's most politically controversial family." She blinked. "You've heard of the Kong scandal?" he asked. "I don't. My father was a government official accused of corruption and laundering money. My brothers were all part of the mess. I was the youngest. I stayed out of politics. But the media tore me apart anyway." Cece stared at him, stunned. "I'm sorry." "I'm not," he said. "It pushed me to build Zentech, from scratch. But the media still follows me. My name isn't just a name. It's a camera magnet. That's why I live alone." A long silence stretched between them as they continued walking. "I know what it's like to have the world stare at you for the wrong reasons," Cece whispered. Jisoo looked at her. "I've heard your daughter cry in her sleep," he said quietly. "And I've heard you cry after she does." She froze. "I wasn't spying," he added quickly. "The walls are just thinner than they look." Cece looked away, blinking back the sting in her eyes. Then, unexpectedly, Jisoo stopped walking. "Let's sit," he said, gesturing to a bench near the river's edge. They sat side by side, watching the water shimmer under the sun like it held the world's forgotten wishes. And then, slowly, his hand brushed hers on the bench.
She didn't pull away.
He turned to her, his gaze softer than she'd ever seen it. "Do you believe in second chances, Cece?" he asked. She swallowed hard. "I didn't. Not until I met you." He looked at her like she was something precious, like she was sunrise after years of rain. His hand moved to cup her jaw gently.
She didn't resist.
"I want to kiss you," he whispered, voice husky and tender. "But only if you're ready." Her heart thundered. She hadn't been kissed in a way that didn't feel like possession in years. She hadn't felt wanted, not as a body but as a soul, since forever. Her voice was barely audible. "I don't know if I'm ready." "That's okay," he said, pulling back slightly. "But," she added, surprising herself, "I want to know what your kiss feels like." His eyes searched hers for permission. Then he leaned in and kissed her. Slow, gentle, like the wind that stirred cherry blossoms across the park. It wasn't hungry or demanding. It was quiet, patient, like he had all the time in the world to kiss her again if she wanted more. When their lips parted, her breath was uneven. "I didn't know I could still feel this alive," she murmured. Jisoo smiled, brushing his thumb across her cheek. "You were never dead, Cece," he whispered. "You were just waiting to bloom." Later that night, back at the penthouse, after putting the baby to sleep, Cece wandered into the kitchen, still lightheaded from the kiss. She found Jisoo on the balcony, sipping wine and staring at the stars. He turned when she joined him. "I don't drink," she said softly. "Neither do I," he replied, setting the glass down. But tonight felt special. They stood together in silence. Then she asked, "Are you afraid of what people will say? About me? About us?" He turned to face her, serious now.
Yes.
But not enough to walk away. She touched his arm. I'm scared too. He nodded. We'll be scared together. She let out a breath and leaned into him, her head resting against his shoulder. They stood like that for a long while, two broken pieces finding their shape in each other. Cece's first day at the Korean Language Center began like the start of war. Not that the school itself was hostile. It was modern, beautiful, and filled with colorful posters of happy foreign students. But the whispers began the moment she stepped in. Some students stared. Others smiled politely, but avoided sitting beside her. A few even took pictures. She wore her best modest dress and tied her braids into a neat low bun. Her daughter was safely at daycare, a facility Jisoo had personally vetted, and she was determined to make this work. But even the teacher, a short woman with silver-rimmed glasses, hesitated before handing her a name tag. Kong. Cece, she asked. Cece blinked. Excuse me? The teacher looked embarrassed. I saw your name. It's already listed in the system under your sponsor, Kong Jisoo. The whisper spread like wildfire. Cece felt it, a low buzz crawling under her skin. She nodded stiffly.
Yes.
He helped me when I was sick. Nothing more. But her voice was too quiet, and no one believed her anyway. By lunchtime, the rumors had already exploded online. Cece didn't even know someone had snapped a photo of her and Jisoo walking near the Han River days ago, his hand gently resting on her back. Now it was on every gossip site. Mystery African woman linked to Zentech CEO. Kong Jisoo's penthouse visitor identified as foreign student and single mom. Is she his mistress, or just another distraction? She didn't find out until she returned home and found Jisoo in the living room, face dark, phone pressed to his ear. He looked up the moment she entered, eyes stormy. She could tell from his body language that the conversation wasn't friendly. I don't care if she's black, white, or blue, he snapped in Korean. She's not a scandal. She's a human being. Keep her name out of your trash network. He ended the call and looked at her. I'm sorry, he said. It's not your fault, she replied, voice shaking. It is. His jaw clenched. They'll come after you now.
The press.
The public. My board. Cece stepped back, as if slapped. Your board? They don't want me dating someone who's not Korean, not traditional, not perfect, and especially not someone who might be seen as damaging to brand image. The words burned her ears. Oh, she whispered. I don't care what they think, Jisoo said, approaching her. But I want you to know what we're up against. Cece stared at the floor. I've dealt with poverty, she said, voice hollow. With abuse. But this, I don't know how to fight being hated just for existing. Jisoo reached for her hand. You don't have to fight alone. She looked up, tears forming. But what about your job? Your company? I started Zentech to change the world, he said. If it can't accept the woman I love, then maybe I've already failed. Her heart paused. You love me? He exhaled slowly. Yes. Silence. Then she whispered, I love you too. 3 weeks later, the backlash intensified. Protesters outside his company gates. Fake stories. Threats of boycott. Even board members trying to force Jisoo to step down. One morning, Cece woke to find photos of her baby's face plastered on a hate forum. That broke her. I'm leaving, she said to Jisoo that night, holding their daughter tightly. I can't let them destroy you too. No, he said, pacing the living room like a caged lion. I won't lose you. You haven't, she whispered. But this isn't about love anymore. It's about your legacy. I don't want to be the reason they ruin it. Jisoo looked like someone had gutted him. I would give it all up, he said. The company. The penthouse. Everything. I know, she replied gently. But I won't let you. You gave me wings when I had none. Now it's time I find my sky. 2 months later, in Ghana, Cece returned home quietly. Not to yaw, not to shame, but to rebuild. She worked remotely with a Korean NGO for immigrant women. She taught online English lessons, She helped her mother, who'd quietly cried when Cece walked in the door with her baby safe and healthy. She even applied to complete her schooling from afar. One night, as she sat under a mango tree with her daughter giggling in her lap, a message buzzed on her phone. From Kang Jisoo. I've stepped down as CEO. The company's board voted me out last week. But I don't regret it. I'm coming to Ghana. Her heart stopped. Then another message came. I've opened a tech training center for women here in Accra, and I want you to help me run it. Not just as staff. As my partner. In everything. Cece dropped the phone and laughed through tears. 6 months later at Accra, Ghana. The tech center was buzzing with life. Local girls tapped away on laptops. A banner outside read, Zian Empowerment Center, powered by Kong and Cece. Jisoo was dressed casually, his arm wrapped around Cece's waist as they stood beside their daughter, now walking, chasing butterflies. Journalists were still writing stories. But now the headlines were different. CEO who gave up empire for love builds Africa's first women-focused tech center. Cece Mpanza, from escaped marriage to global inspiration. That night, under a lantern-lit courtyard, Jisoo knelt down on one knee, pulled out a small silver ring with a rose-gold gem. I don't have an empire to give you, he said softly, but I have a heart that finally found its home. Cece's hands trembled. Yes, she whispered, before he could even finish the question. Their kiss that night wasn't gentle or unsure like before. It was fire. It was freedom. It was everything they had both survived to find. 1 year later, a soft spring breeze blew through the center's courtyard, where women coded, designed, and dreamed. Inside a sunlit office, Cece sat at her desk, her left hand cradling her pregnant belly, her right typing quickly on her laptop. Her daughter played quietly with a wooden toy beside her. The door opened. Jisoo entered, now fluent in Twi, wearing a bright local print shirt. You're glowing, he said, kissing her forehead. And you're late, she teased. They looked out the window, at the courtyard, at the horizon, at the future. And for the first time in either of their lives, the sky felt truly theirs.